Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the 28th Presidential Induction of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka. We are honored to have you all here with us this evening. To commence the proceedings tonight, I kindly request all guests to rise to welcome the ceremonial procession. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem.
Sri Lanka Mata, Upper Sri Lanka, Namo, 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 Namo Mata, Sundara Siri Barini, Surandi Ati Sogamana Lanka.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly remain standing for the lighting of the traditional oil lamp. For this, I would like to invite the following chief guest this evening, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, guest of honor, Dr. Alaka Singh, incoming president of the CCPSL, Dr. S.M. Arnold, additional secretary medical services of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sunil Dialvis, director general of health services, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, outgoing president, Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, representing the past presidents of the college, Professor Rajthu Vikramasinghe, representing the fellows of the college, Dr. Pushpa Jayawardena, president-elect, Dr. Shiromi Madhuage, secretary of the college, Dr. Tushani Dabrera, treasurer of the college, Dr. Athula Lianapathirana. We once again warmly welcome the dignitaries to step forward and brighten up this evening with the lighting of the traditional oil lamp. Thank you very much to all the dignitaries for commencing today's program with the lighting of the oil lamp. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated, and I would like to cordially invite the following dignitaries to make their way to the head table. Incoming President of the College of Community Physicians, Dr. S.M. Arnold, outgoing President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, Chief guest this evening, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, guest of honor, WHO representative to Sri Lanka, Dr. Alaka Singh, secretary to the college, Dr. Tushani Dabrera, and treasurer, Dr. Athula Lianapathirana. Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 28th presidential induction of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka. As most of you in the audience are aware, the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka is the foremost professional body for public health practitioners. Its membership consists of specialists and medical officers qualified in community medicine. The college works to promote public health through a professional approach and is dedicated to organizing programs on community medicine for the welfare of the people and in order to increase knowledge of people on public health. The college strives to promote fellowship with and assist persons and communities engaged in the practice of community medicine. Today, we are here on the occasion of yet another milestone, the induction of the 28th President of the CCPSL, Dr. S.M. Arnold, where he will strive to broaden the horizons of the field of community medicine. To begin the proceedings, I invite Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, outgoing President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, to deliver the welcome address.
Ayubowan. Chief guest Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank. Guest of honor Dr. Alaka Singh, WHO representative to Sri Lanka. Past presidents and fellows of the college. The council and the members of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka. All health ministry officials. Representatives of development partners and academia. All the distinguished invitees. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Today, I stand before you as the 27th and outgoing President of College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka at the occasion of induction of the 28th President of the College to do the pleasing task of welcoming all of you. We are honored by your presence. Our college has a great history, started as the society in 1927. We have come a long way, improving professionals in the specialty of community medicine of Sri Lanka. Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, our chief guest today, adds glamour to our event, and we welcome you with much respect. Our guest of honor today, Dr. Alaka Singh, is representing a strong development partner, especially the technical partnership to the entire health sector. We welcome you with much gratitude. Our past presidents, fellows, and council members are our strength, and I welcome all of you on behalf of the college. Also, our membership is our pillar of strength, and I welcome all of you who are present here today. All the health ministry officials, distinguished invitees, and ladies and gentlemen, we consider your presence today not just honoring the invitation, but also honoring the specialty of community medicine. Before concluding, it is good to see a flashback of activities of the past council. facing the challenges, whether it is COVID-19 or economic crisis, my council and I did our best. I hope the upcoming council also continues its activities to the best of its abilities, in which I am also an ex officio member. By wishing another successful year, and once again, by welcoming each one of you, I conclude my welcome speech. Thank you and wish you a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Madam Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, for welcoming everyone to this momentous event. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we will be witnessing the induction of the 28th President of the College of Community Physicians. Therefore, to officially induct the President, I would like to once again invite to the podium Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, outgoing President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, to do the honors.
Dr. Mahendra Arnold had his education at Mahanama College, Colombo, and graduated from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. He obtained his Master's in Community Medicine in 2002 and MD in 2005. He underwent his postdoctoral training at the Centre for Occupational and Environment Health, Monash University, Australia. He has been trained in the fields of occupational health, environmental health, and food safety. In addition to qualifications in community medicine, he holds a diploma in occupational health, postgraduate certificate in human nutrition, master's in business administration, and is enrolled as an attorney at law in the Supreme Court. In 2010, he entered the medical administration grade and was appointed as the medical superintendent of the Infectious Disease Hospital. The IDH hospital underwent major developments and was upgraded as the National Institute of Infectious Diseases during his tenure. He served as the Regional Director of Health Services, Colombo, from 2015 to 2019, and as the Director Quarantine during the period of COVID-19 pandemic also. He currently holds the position of Deputy Director General, Public Health Services, Disease Control, and communicable disease control programs are under his purview. He has a passion in teaching and training. He has been a visiting lecturer at the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine for MSc and MD Community Medicine since 2008, module coordinator in Environmental and Occupational Health, examiner in MSc and MD Community Medicine examinations, visiting lecturer in Diploma in Occupational Health, Human Nutrition and Dietetics, and Health Program Management at the University of Colombo. He is an examiner for undergraduate and postgraduate programs. He holds publications in local and international peer-reviewed index journals to his credit. He has been an active member of the college, having represented the college council for 14 years and held the post of treasurer for 4 terms. He is a fellow of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to read the citation of Dr. Mahendra Arnold for the induction as the 28th President of the prestigious College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Madam. We will now be witnessing the induction of the 28th President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, Dr. S.M. Arnold, as Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, outgoing President, presents him with the Presidential Medal. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for the 28th President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, Dr. S.M. Arnold. Thank you. We will now witness the presenting of the past President's Medal to Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga. The medal will be presented by the President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, Dr. S.M. Arnold. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, sir, on beginning your tenure as President CCPSL with wishes for a successful year in public health. It is now indeed my pleasure to invite our guest of honor this evening, World Health Organization representative to Sri Lanka, Dr. Alaka Singh, to address this August gathering. Prior to this, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our guest of honor to the audience. Dr. Alaka Singh assumed responsibilities of WHO representative Sri Lanka from 14th May 2021. An Indian national, Dr. Alaka Singh has worked in health and development for over 2 decades. With WHO, she has held positions at all 3 levels of the organization, supporting countries in the Southeast Asia as well as the African and Eastern Mediterranean regions. Her technical experience has been focused on health systems, primary health care, and universal health coverage. She has led on several key WHO efforts in these areas, including development of the Regional Strategy on Universal Health Coverage 2012-2017, and more recently on a regional agenda to advance primary health care post-COVID. Dr. Alaka Singh has also worked with the Office of the Director General, Dr. Margaret Chan, at WHO headquarters, assisting with high-level discussions between the DG and member states, and as Deputy WHO representative Myanmar, where she participated in the UN response to both transition to democracy as well as the humanitarian emergency. Prior to joining WHO, Dr. Alaka Singh worked for the World Bank in New Delhi and Washington offices with the Health, Nutrition, and Population Cluster, participating in some of the first lending programs for health systems in India. Dr. Alaka Singh has organized several international conferences, served on academic panels, and been a referee for international journals. Her latest journal contribution was as co-editor of the February 2021 issue of the Southeast Asia Journal of Public Health that captures lessons learned from the pandemic for strengthening primary health care for universal health coverage in the region. Dr. Alaka Singh has an educational background in economics and development, with a first degree from the Delhi University and advanced degrees from the College of William and Mary, Virginia, USA, and Cambridge University, United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now welcome guest of honor for this evening, Dr. Alaka Singh.
Good evening. Chief guest, Dr. Vijay Vardhane, President and the Council of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, past presidents and fellows of the college, officials of the Ministry of Health, colleagues from the UN, members of the college, and distinguished invitees. Thank you very much for inviting WHO as guest of honor at this induction of the 28th President of the College of Community Physicians. It is indeed an honor for me to be here today with some leading authorities, not just in Sri Lanka, but globally in the area of community health. Congratulations to the outgoing President, Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga. The theme advanced by you under your leadership on strengthening public health resilience was indeed very timely, both with respect to COVID-19 as well as the economic crisis. It really is a valuable background for the incoming president and his theme of weathering the economic crisis through health systems efficiency. And congratulations to Dr. Arnold on his election. WHO looks forward to our continued collaboration to safeguard health in these very difficult times. And indeed, the coming months, if not years, shall indeed be very difficult. Yesterday, the World Bank released the latest Sri Lanka development update. As it records, the economy was already showing signs of weakness before COVID-19. Now, the country has been plunged into its worst ever economic crisis. Sri Lanka's real GDP is expected to fall by 9.2% this year and a further 4.2% in 2023. Most critically for health, COVID-19 had already increased poverty from 11.3% in 2019 to 12.7% in 2020, a change that translates to over 300,000 new poor in the country. The current crisis has doubled the poverty rate from 13.1% to 25.6% between 2021 and 2022, increasing the number of poor people by 2.7 million. This is in the context of quite dismal international conditions as well, as the IMF in the World Economic Outlook has updated in July. It's a gloomy and more uncertain world that we live in. The key recommendation for Sri Lanka is really immediate additional assistance and also comprehensive reform on the social protection system to safeguard the poor going forward. WHO reaches out once again to the college to collaborate in 3 key areas. The first effort really needs to be on highlighting the importance of health in Sri Lanka in relation to poverty. Public investment in public health has been Sri Lanka's exemplary effort in social protection. What is of concern is in the region, in the broader region, about 1/3 of new poverty is because of the cost of accessing healthcare. Sri Lanka so far has been protected because the government has invested so much in a quality and an equitable health system. We need to safeguard this going forward, and together we must advocate for this. Second, let's not forget in all the discussion of the economy that health is a productive sector. It's not just a consumption sector. In fact, it's not a consumption sector. It's a productive sector. We talked a lot about the NCDs pre-COVID. We looked at the best buys. And globally, it's acknowledged that $1 invested in best buys in NCDs results in a return of $7, simply because those who are in the productive age group are not suffering from NCDs, and we don't have to invest so much in healthcare. So let's keep emphasizing that that health is a productive sector in Sri Lanka as anywhere else. Also in this country, health is a major employer as well. It employs the second largest employer in the Sri Lankan economy. So this is not a consumption sector. For recovery, for economic growth, for furthering development, we need to continue that investment in health. And finally, as is the theme of the current president, of the new president, in terms of comprehensive reforms, what are really needed are reforms to improve the efficiency in the health sector in Sri Lanka. Very simply looking at 2 key efficiencies: allocative efficiency, to make sure we're doing the right thing, that is providing the highest value health services for the resources we have available, and also technical efficiency, or doing the things right. The things that we are doing, we must do them right. That is how resources are used during service provision. Efficiency will be critical going forward because, like any other sector, it's unlikely that health will be allocated additional resources. There simply isn't that capacity in the economy. So we need to look at how allocative and technical efficiency is really impacting our service delivery, our human resources. We've been faced with this huge movement, huge push outside, away from Sri Lanka, where we do have very key health workers leaving the health sector. How do we retain them going forward? What are the kinds of reforms we need to re-look at the balance in terms of specialists and experts and other cadres of health workers? We've also suffered as probably the first and the key impact of the crisis in March. We've seen the crisis in terms of medicines, shortages, stockouts, and simply non-availability of key medicines. We need to see how we can improve efficiency in access to affordable medicines. Globally, WHO has found that access to medicines, as well as how we use human resources, at what level of service, are the 2 main areas of inefficiencies. And that's a dialogue we look forward to through the college. Finally, we also need to review for the first time, perhaps in Sri Lanka, is how we finance healthcare. Sri Lanka's never had to review this because it wasn't a problem. We didn't need to fix something that wasn't broken. But we are stretched now. We need to look at how is it that we are financing health in Sri Lanka. We do apparently have a large willingness to pay because about 50% of Sri Lanka's expenditure, health expenditure, is out of pocket. It's one of the very few countries that the out-of-pocket spending is not regressive because it's coming from higher income groups. So there is a willingness to pay. We need to see how we can capture this willingness to pay more efficiently, more effectively, so we can start cross-subsidizing from the rich to the poor, from the young to the elderly, and from the healthy to those who need health care. We need also, and through efforts using platforms like the college here, is to start using data, information, and evidence for policy. For example, critical to our assessment of efficiencies and efficiency gaps would be the use of health technology assessments, looking at cost efficiency. And it's something that Sri Lanka certainly has the capacity for. It's just using that capacity and focusing on tools and methods that might be useful for us to revisit efficiency. WHO is undertaking analytical work in all these areas in partnership with Ministry of Health, as well as other development partners, including the World Bank and the ADB. And we look forward to strengthening our existing collaboration with the college on looking at some of these efforts, particularly for the advocacy platform that the college provides, so we can move forward in addressing those inefficiencies to safeguard health going forward. Congratulations again, Dr. Arnold, and you've selected a very critical theme, and from WHO we look forward to a fruitful partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam, for addressing our gathering today and the insightful input on the current Sri Lankan situation given to us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have with us today the chief guest for this evening, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank. Prior to him addressing the gathering, let me introduce the chief guest. Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, a career central banker, retired from the bank as its Deputy Governor in 2009 after serving that institution for nearly 40 years. While in the bank, he has been involved in almost all the areas of central banking, including economic research, monetary policy, financial system stability, provident fund, currency issue, public debt, rural credit, and banking. He initiated the setting up of Sri Lanka's accounting and auditing standards as the chairman of Sri Lanka Accounting and Auditing Standards Monitoring Board from 2000 to 2008. As chairman of the Institute of Bankers of Sri Lanka during 2000 to 2009, he led the team that successfully negotiated with the Chartered Institute of Bankers, United Kingdom, for the accreditation of its qualification. He led the team that established the Credit Information Bureau of Sri Lanka as its founding general manager in 1990. He also steered the Central Bank Modernization Project, which introduced modern technology to the bank while creating a lean and efficient organization. The technological innovations introduced to the bank consisted of the establishment of a modern payment system called the Real-Time Gross Settlement Automation of the General Ledger of the bank and modernization of public debt management by setting up the Central Depository to record scriptless government securities. Dr. Vijayawardena presently serves as an adjunct faculty at the Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand and provides his services as a visiting lecturer to the University of Sri Jayawardenapura and the Postgraduate Institute of Management in Sri Lanka. He is also the president of the Business Management School, which offers undergraduate degrees in management and science of Northumbria University, United Kingdom, and MBA degrees of the University of Leicester, Teesside University, and Edinburgh Napier University. Dr. Vijayawardena holds a first-class honours degree in public administration and a postgraduate diploma in applied social statistics from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Sri Lanka, an MSc in economics from the University of York, DBA from California Metropolitan University, and DBA in banking and finance from European International University, Paris. For the lifetime contribution he has made to economics and economic policy making, he has been awarded Doctor of Civil Law by Northumbria University, United Kingdom. He is a writer, public speaker, economic analyst, and educationist. He serves on the faculty study boards of both the University of Sri Jayawardenepura and the Postgraduate Institute of Management. His weekly column on economic and related issues, taglined My View, Economics Matters, appears on every Monday in the Daily Financial Times. Once again, Dr. Vijayawardena, welcome.
Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. The guest of honor, outgoing president, incoming president, and the other dignitaries at the head table, members of the college, and ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be present here in this evening on the occasion of the induction of the new president of the College of Community Physicians, and as it has been mentioned here, he has been the 28th president. So as an economist, I feel a little odd to be among the medical professionals here, and it actually reminds me of a story attributable to the old Soviet Union, when Comrade Leonid Brezhnev was the General Secretary of the Communist Party. He had been receiving a Guard of Honor from his armed forces on one of the occasions where they were celebrating the Bolshevik revolution in Kremlin. Along with the display of the military paraphernalia, he had seen some people dressed in civilian clothes marching this high-profile military parade. Having been angry at this intrusion, he had asked the KGB head, what the hell are these civilians are doing in my military parade? The KGB head has simply said that, okay, don't worry, they are economists. Then he became angry. He had said, what the hell economists are doing here? The answer had been that we will let them loose in the United States and they can destroy that economy faster than any of our traditional military instruments can do. Now that's the track record of economists. They can either make or a break of an economy. And we are in Sri Lanka today, unfortunately, at the last event, the breaking of the economy. Now that has been actually being told us in very loud voice, internationally as well as locally. There had been an event that took place yesterday in Geneva, at which the UN Human Rights Council had passed a resolution presented by the core group on Sri Lanka, headed by the UK government, with 19 points of violating human rights. Of these 19 points, there are two important things that would actually draw our attention. For the first time in history, in the UN Human Rights Council, as well as for the first time in history in Sri Lanka. Those 2 points have been that there had been economic crimes in Sri Lanka, and the United Nations Human Rights Council will support the government of Sri Lanka to investigate into those human economic crimes and make the people who are accountable for them to be accountable. Now, this particular resolution was passed with the vote of some 20 members, whereas only 7 members had rejected it. Now, this is an indication of how economists can destroy an economy. I mean, the story that I told you is not actually something that has been created, but that something that can happen in real practice. Then locally, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka had again started an investigation into the so-called economic crimes in Sri Lanka with a view to identifying those who are responsible and also make them accountable for their crime. In addition to that, there had been some civil activist groups which had taken up the case at the highest judiciary in Sri Lanka, the Supreme Court, and today the judgment was delivered by the Supreme Court permitting the petitioners to proceed with the case. In fact, the Supreme Court is going to investigate this, and also if it finds the people who are responsible for the economic crime, then of course again it's the first time in Sri Lanka's history that economists are going to pay. Now usually what we learn is that the consumers will have to pay in anything, whether it is medicine or whether it is say any commodity in the market, it is the consumer who has to pay. But for the first time in Sri Lanka's history, now economists are being called upon to pay for their crime, which is a very unusual thing that we are experiencing today. Why we have asked the economists to pay is because we are going through an economic crisis in Sri Lanka which is unprecedented in its post-independence history. We had gone through many economic crises in the past, but the one that we are going through today had been the worst. In fact, Dr. Alaka Singh, in her address, she said that the poverty rate has gone up from 13% to 26%, going by the low poverty measure adopted by the Department of Census and Statistics. But all of us today have become poorer, and most of us who are in this auditorium are also below the poverty line today. As a former central banker and also a pensioner of the central bank, I find myself in that category. I have also crossed the poverty line and I am now a poor man in Sri Lanka. That is because the income that I get is not sufficient for me to maintain myself. So the economic crimes had been the first to be noted by people outside and also people inside in Sri Lanka. And also there has been a debate as to why we should connect the economic crimes to human rights. And the position taken by the government of Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council had been that those are two separate issues and one should not mix the human rights with economic crimes, and therefore it is exceeding the mandate given to the UN Human Rights Council to look at the economic crimes in Sri Lanka. But of course, if we examine it more thoroughly, looking at what we mean by human rights, we find that the economic crimes stands in front of the human rights, because without the human rights, we cannot have the economic prosperity. That is because all of us, we aspire in our life to attain as our final goal in living to make ourselves self-perfect. The self-perfection has been the final goal of our living. Whether you are a doctor, whether you are an economist, whether you are a farmer, it doesn't matter. We have a final goal of attaining self-perfection. To attain self-perfection, one of the most important things that we have to do is attain a state where we are free from hunger and starvation. And when it comes to all the major religions, which actually look after our life beyond this world, they also have attributed this final goal in different terms, but they all come into a single thing. In Buddhism, we have nirvana. In Christianity, we say rest in peace. In Hinduism, we say join in the Mahabrahman. In Islam, we say join in Allah. Those are all goals that we have beyond this worldly life. But within the worldly life, for us to attain those goals, we must have the self-perfection, and one of the most important requirements for us to be in that particular position is freedom from hunger and freedom from starvation. Even the Buddha, in one of the discourses, he had refused to preach his discourse until one of the persons in the audience had been fully fed. That is because when you have a stomach full of food, then only we can think of anything: education, community medicine, farming, working, writing. All these things will have to be done by us only if we have sufficient foods. So what the present economic crisis has done to us is that we are now living in an era where we are moving towards a major humanitarian crisis in Sri Lanka. This is the first time. In fact, many people talk about the humanitarian crisis in 1970s, but compared to what we have today, the crisis that we had in 1970s is nothing. We didn't have enough food, but of course the available food was distributed among the needy people. Today, we are going through this humanitarian crisis mainly because of the human errors, the errors made by the economists. And what are those errors? One of the errors is that we had, in fact, attempted to convert Sri Lanka's agriculture to organic farming overnight by banning the importation of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which had been used by the Sri Lankan farmers for hundreds of years. Our farming community had been used to this, and also our agriculture had been used to it, and we had become nearly self-sufficient in our staple food, rice, because of the advanced technology, advanced usage of chemical fertilizers and advanced usage of pesticides by year 2010. That was reversed overnight, and the result has been the agricultural production has dropped by 50%, tea production by 30%, rubber production by another 30%, coconut production by 20%, and all the agricultural products have been subject to this particular error. It's a human error and human folly. When a country faces such a humanitarian crisis, that country can still go through it if it is able to get the necessary food from the rest of the world. But for us to get the necessary food from the rest of the world, we need one particular requirement, that is, we need US dollars. We lost US dollars again because of the follies of the economists. That is because over the years we had been borrowing money from the rest of the world, using that money in projects which do not immediately generate an income stream for Sri Lanka. As a result, we had accumulated debt to the rest of the world, We have become debtors. The debt has become unbearable. And finally, the day of reckoning came when Sri Lanka was no longer able to service this debt. What we mean by service is that the repayment of the principal and the payment of interest on time. So as a result, the government of Sri Lanka had to suspend the payment of this foreign debt on the 12th of April this year, and also go for a very costly debt restructuring program. So at the same time, we lost the available foreign exchange because we had used that foreign exchange to repay the past debt and also to maintain the Sri Lanka rupee at an artificial level of 200 rupees per US dollar by supplying the reserves available in the central bank. So we had about 2 years ago a foreign reserve balance of some 7.7 billion US dollars that came down to a zero level by April this year. Today, we don't have any foreign exchange available. And we are now living from hand to mouth. If we get foreign exchange, we can import fuel and other essentials, medicines. If we don't get foreign exchange, we have to go without it. So the crisis is such, it has driven us to such a high level, right? Now all of us are poorer than before, and we all have to now come out of the present crisis. And unfortunately for us, the main casualty of an economic crisis of this proportion is the healthcare system. Because healthcare system needs money, needs resources, and those resources should be provided by the government on one side and also by the private parties on the other side. And we must be able to acquire those resources by raising funds within the economy as well as by using the foreign exchange. On both counts, we don't have any resources available. We don't have foreign exchange, as I mentioned to you, because the foreign reserves are now zero level. And at the same time, the domestic resources we don't have, our government is bankrupt. The government is struggling to pay the salaries of the doctors, salaries of teachers, salaries of public servants. And unless the central bank prints money every month and gives that money to the treasury is unable to pay the salaries. So what can we expect from a bankrupt government? We have become beggars. And we all know beggars are not choosers. So that is why it is necessary for us to get the support of these world organizations like World Health Organization, which has generously supported Sri Lanka to go through the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the present crisis where we face in the healthcare system without medicine and without other requirements that are needed by the healthcare system to operate. So that's why Dr. Alaka Singh had referred to the fact that we must have two types of efficiencies. One is called allocative efficiency, the other one she called the technical efficiency. But for us to have the allocative efficiency or the technical efficiency, there is a ground rule that we have to satisfy first. We need resources in-house. And if these resources are not acquired by us, neither one cannot be practiced by us. Now, in this particular situation, what we should do? Countries have gone through similar economic crises, and they have come out of those economic crises, and there's only one way for a nation to do that. And that is the theme of your meeting today, weathering the economic crisis through healthcare efficiency. The word efficiency, I will replace it with the more familiar word to economists, we call it productivity. What we mean by productivity or what we mean by efficiency is, again, attaining the highest results by using the minimum level of inputs. And that is what we have to do. And how do we do it? We have to work harder. Now I would actually draw your attention to the post Second World War Japan, where two cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, had been completely destroyed by dropping of an atomic bomb. The Japanese people were also in the same situation as we are today. But within a matter of about, say, 10 years' time, they were able to come out of the crisis because they had worked without pay for 6 months. They had cut down their consumption drastically. They had invested in human capital where the people were given new technology, new technical know-how. They copied from other countries new technology, produced for the rest of the world, and within about, say, 10 years' time, Japan was able to come out of the crisis. Now, this is the only solution available for us. We cannot expect the government of Sri Lanka to rescue us. Nor can we expect the external organizations like the International Monetary Fund, WHO, UNDP, World Bank, ADB to rescue us, or government of India or government of Japan to do that. We have to, like the Japanese who did in 1940s and 50s, we have to stand on our feet, and standing on our feet means working harder, learning, acquiring technology, producing for the rest of the world the goods that they need, and in that case, the healthcare system comes to the prominence of any economic reform. Why? Because the production of any of these countries is done by human capital, and human capital, we know every one of us has a neck top over our shoulders. We have a brain, which we call the neck top now, and that neck top has to be developed. To develop that neck top, one input is education, second input is healthcare. So without healthcare, we cannot, because we cannot give the necessary technology to a man who is not healthy. And this reminds me of this Elizabeth Turnbull, who got the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2009. She came out with a new theory why we become aging. She said aging is not a time factor, it is a disease. What she said was that if the health span is shorter of a person and the disease span is longer, that person has been aged. Even if you are maybe 20-year-old young man, if you are subject to diseases, you are an aged old man. But if you are, say, 80 years old, but if you are still healthy and you don't have any of the diseases that you have, you are not an old man, you are a young man. So what has happened to us is that because of the economic crisis, we have the undernourishment first, followed by malnourishment, malnutrition, and we don't have the necessary medicines to take care of the patients, take care of the diseases, and as a result of each one of us, the disease span is now elongated. Therefore, we all have not only become poor, we have become old people. We may be, young by age, but if we have a longer and elongated disease span in our life, we are old people. So that is why the College of Community Physicians have a new challenge today. What is that new challenge? Weathering the crisis through improvement of productivity, at which we'll have to find solutions that are unique to Sri Lanka from local sources, because we cannot depend on the rest of the world to come and support us. So whatever the nutritional requirements needed by our population, that has to be supplied through the available resources within the country. I think one of the missions of the new president of the college is to find the new dietary patterns that might help Sri Lankan people to improve their health so that they would become young people even though they may have passed so many years in their life. So this is a new challenge that we have to accomplish, and I hope the new president and the council are up to this particular challenge. We have to find solutions from within. We all have to work harder, even without salaries for 6 months. We don't know. All of us will have to make the supreme sacrifice, right from the president downward to the man in the street. And this is the message that I would like to deliver to you today. And I hope that it will be taken seriously, because the government of Sri Lanka hasn't taken the message delivered to us by the UN Human Rights Council seriously, which is a mistake. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, Dr. Vijayawardena, for your presence here this evening, as well as your valuable address delivered to our gathering today. We are honored to have you with us. On this occasion of the induction of the 28th President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, I now have the privilege to call to the podium our President for the year 2022-2023, Dr. S.M. Arnold, to address this August gathering.
A very good evening to you all. The Council, past Presidents and Fellows of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka. Our Chief Guest, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Our Guest of Honor, Dr. Alaka Singh, World Health Organization Representative to Sri Lanka. Dr. Sunil D. Alvis, Additional Secretary, Medical Services to the Ministry of Health. Dr. Asela Gunawardena, Director General of Health Services. Other officials of the Ministry of Health. Representatives of the UN organizations. Distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver my presidential address on the theme Weathering the Economic Crisis through Health System Efficiency. Amidst the recession of almost 3 years of impact of COVID-19, with the contribution of all sectors, Mother Sri Lanka is unable to heave a sigh of relief yet due to the ongoing economic challenges. It is time that we all contribute to overcome this challenge with the same momentum and unity we demonstrated during the unprecedented onslaught of our entire society by COVID pandemic. I believe that the selected theme is the best choice considering the given circumstances. My address today will cover some salient areas starting from the impact of economic stability on health system with contemporary evidence, recommended policy intervention to overcome these impacts, potential role of the College of Community Physicians in this context, and our plans of utilizing the concept of health system efficiency in weathering the current economic crisis. Let me begin with the conceptualization of the role of economic stability on health. In 1977, George Engel conceptualized a model to understand the dynamics of relationships of persons' medical condition. This model stated that it is not enough to consider biological factors alone, but also the consideration of psychological and social factors is needed if a medical condition is to be properly managed. This model was coined as the biopsychosocial model in contrast to the conventional biomedical model, which focuses merely on biological factors. One of these social factors was identified as economic status. Later, under its concept of social determinants of health, the World Health Organization defined on medical factors that influence health outcomes. Level of economic stability has been described as one of these social determinants of health. The effects of the economic crisis of a country or region on health system have been highlighted in the 21st century in relation to the countries with any level of economic status. That means healthcare systems of any country, irrespective of being lower, middle or high level, cannot escape from the influence of its economic vulnerability. In relation to high income settings, in the report of World Health Organization on the impact of global economic crisis on healthcare systems, which was published in 2014, the impact of the global economic crisis, which began in 2007, has been highlighted with reference to Belgium, France and Netherlands. The impact of economic instability with healthcare systems among middle income countries has been shown by Henrietta and others in relation to Belgium using data between 2010 to 2018. This year, Sri Lanka happened to become an ideal case scenario for a lower income setting in depicting this association of economic crisis and adverse outcome of the healthcare system. With a plunge of foreign exchange revenue and difficulty in managing external debt, the inflation did a record high value of 54.6% by mid-2022, while food inflation rising to 81%, endorsing an economic crisis in this island nation. The potential impact of economic crisis in Sri Lanka on the health system has been vividly explained in the correspondent article by Anne Tushara Matthias and Saroj Jayasinghe in the Lancet Global Health this year. I quote, "Threats to health from an economic crisis are multifold. Stress and lack of health care can increase cardiovascular morbidities. Malnutrition can affect generations of children. Communicable diseases can increase due to rising cost of amenities and the weakening of preventive and control measures. The accompanying political uncertainties, widespread protest and social disruption adversely affect mental health and worsen quality of life. These multiple crises have potential to cripple the health system." End quote. Economic instabilities not only create health system failures with direct outcomes, but also impose hindrance in achieving global targets. Financial limitations have been known to impair the achievement of universal health coverage as well. Ferogi and others, in their recently published systematic review in 2022, have explored the effect of economic crisis on hospital services. After they screened 78 studies across 36 countries, and reviewing the conclusion was given as the economic crisis and adopted policies had a disruptive effect on hospital contribution in achieving universal health coverage. Policy intervention to overcome these negative impacts. As a way out of economic crisis, it has been emphasized to make the health system resilient. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has defined as resilient system as a system that can absorb and recover from shocks in short term while positively adapting and transforming its structure in the long term to cope with changes and maintain its optimal performance. It is further emphasized by Ferogi et al. 2022 that This resilience can be applied to 6 building blocks of health system as proposed by the World Health Organization, namely leadership and governance, service delivery, health workforce, health system financing, health information system, and medicines and equipment. Accordingly, the policies adopted in the face of crisis divide into one of the 3 categories. The first category is named as policies of absorptive capacity, which seek continuity and maintenance of health services level in terms of quality, quantity, and equity, using available resources and keeping the current system structure and sustainability. The second type is named as policies of adaptive capacity, which imply the system of flexibility and make gradual changes in characteristics and activities to provide health services with fewer and different resources. The third type is named as policies of transformative capacity, which make principal reforms in functions and structure of the health system in response to change. The publication by Ferogi et al. In 2022 highlighted that having a strong primary care and community-based services was a favorable contextual factor that affect the hospital resilience in economic crisis. In relation to Sri Lanka, and Tushara Matthias and Saroj Jayasinghe have highlighted similar domains by mentioning that strengthening primary health care services and an appropriate referral system as something must be done in this economic crisis. Sri Lanka has been having a strong community-based health service infrastructure and blessed with century-years old health unit system. All our households have been clearly demarcated in a health system unit called as a medical officer of health area, with specific field level staff members being allocated to deliver well-defined services. Given this context, 2 critically important points are to be appreciated in implementing the mentioned policies. One is the importance of promoting the clients to utilize primary health care centers efficiently. Even if there is availability of facilities, if the clients do not seek health care services from those, the purpose will not be met. This should be addressed through the well-established community health care system at the grassroots level, where field health staff, including medical officers of health, public health midwives, and public health inspectors, promoting the community to use the closest primary health care centers. The second critical point is the necessity of maintaining the routine public health services such as life cycle based maternal and child health services, disease control services, environmental and occupational health services through motivating the ground level public health staff. If these services are affected, there will be long-term negative impacts on our health indices, which in turn impose a significant burden to the curative health services. Potential role of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka in the given context. The postgraduate medical specialty called community medicine is closely associated with well-laid community health infrastructure, with its specialists and trainees delivering a notable service being placed at different levels of the health system. Hence, in the introduction and implementation of above mentioned policies of adaptive capacity or transformative capacity, community medicine specialty would play a critical role. Community medicine is closely related to public health. Public health was defined by Winslow in 1920 as science and art of preventing disease, prolonging life, and promoting physical and mental health well-being. The medical specialty of community medicine can be regarded as the medical domain of public health. In a summary, community medicine makes a country gets two functions accomplished. First is linking of curative services with the community. Second being the illness prevention and wellness promotion in the community. Thus, the service providers of community medicine have diverse responsibilities, both at institutional level as well as at community level in weathering the current economic crisis. Several factors facilitate the successful accomplishment of the role of this process. The curriculum of the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine equips them with the skills needed in delivering essential public health functions. A discussion paper of World Health Organization has described these essential public health functions as a list of minimum requirements that countries need to assure the effectiveness of public health in their own context. Consultant community physicians are currently attached at national, provincial, and district level within the Ministry of Health, and some function as public health specialists attached to universities and to international organizations. Some enter administrative grade. Dynamics of their service delivery enable them to be ideal catalysts in weathering the current economic crisis. As an example, the generic job description of consultant community physicians, which has been published by the Ministry of Health, encompasses 10 key tasks they perform, namely public health management, policy analysis and development, strategic planning, advocacy, raising awareness on health, surveillance, monitoring and evaluation, research, quality assurance of public health program, training and capacity building, and fund mobilization. Plans of College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka in utilizing the concept of health system efficiency in weathering the current economic crisis. The College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka is the umbrella organization and apex professional body of public health. Hence, our college has a greater responsibility of mentoring the country in this economic crisis period. I too, as the president of our college for the year 2022-2023, bear the overwhelming responsibility in strengthening the college in delivering this task. One key strategy that we would be focusing on would be the incorporation of concepts of health system efficiency. As described by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, which is known as OECD, in general, the most basic definition of efficiency is the relationship between inputs to outputs. However, in their scoping paper of health system efficiency measurement, they have highlighted that health system, what is more important is outcomes rather than outputs. This makes the measurements of efficiency a bit complicated within the health system compared to non-health system. As an example, while both indicators have their own merits, we would be more focusing on number of patients in COVID-19, dengue, leptospirosis, acute or chronic non-communicable diseases prevented rather than the number of health education sessions we conducted. Hence, the OECD recommends to distinguish between the output efficiency and outcome efficiency. Output efficiency, which is related to productivity, is when the efficiency is measured with output indicators. When the outcome indicators are used, we measure outcome efficiency, which is more related to cost effectiveness. Furthermore, there are two perspectives to explore the health system efficiency when it is measured. First is the efficiency in relation to its type, that is, whether technical efficiency or allocative efficiency is being measured. Technical efficiency refers to the production of greatest outputs or outcomes for a given level of inputs or producing the same outcomes at lower cost. This in simple terms is doing more with less or doing the same at a lower cost. As example of this would be the number of healthy lifestyle clinics conducted in a district in relation to a given cost. In contrast, the allocative efficiency refers to the allocation of resources to achieve the greatest health outcome at the least cost. In simple terms, this can be described as doing the right thing at the right place. An example would be preventable maternal deaths following reallocation of resources. The second type of perspective in measurement of health system efficiency is the level of analysis when measurement is done. According to the OECD, there are three possible levels of analysis measuring efficiency in the names of system-wide level, subsector level, or specific disease or condition-based level. As the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, we would be vigilant on these indicators and perspective of health system efficiency in incorporating its concept in weathering the current economic crisis. In summary, the current economic crisis have diverse potentially negative consequences on health system and must be solved at the earliest. The College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka is equipped with a membership who are capable of contributing in addressing the recommended policy intervention. While doing so, we would incorporate concept of health system efficiency to the maximum. Let us motivate ourselves as tough times do not last, but tough people do. Distinguished invitees, I am confident that in the coming year, the Council members and the whole membership of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka would contribute with its maximum capacity, both proactively as well as reactively, in weathering the current economic crisis. I am humbly proud of being the President of the College during this critical venture. As a tradition, when formally assuming the presidency of this prestigious college, it is my pleasure to express my gratitude to those without whom this would not have been a reality. I thank my parents who instilled in me a sense of service and integrity from my childhood. I thank my family for understanding, encouragement, support and patience afforded to me throughout my career. I acknowledge with gratitude all my teachers at school level, undergraduate level as well as postgraduate level who showed me the path to travel to this destination. I thank the Health Ministry officials and all my colleagues who supported me in challenging academic and professional endeavors of my life. I thank the international organizations and professional colleges who have already expressed their willingness to be collaborative stakeholders with our college in the coming year. I appreciate the past presidents and the fellows of the college for the direction shown. My dear council members, in the last 3 weeks following the annual general meeting, you have completed a significant amount of tasks as shown with evidence at the beginning of this event. It is quite impressive, I'm sure this year there will be rapid progress of the college. This was the wish of all our previous presidents as well. Let us make our actions speak. I also wish to reach to our courageous, imaginative and brilliant postgraduate trainees in community medicine who have chosen the path of service to our nation that will call for great sacrifices, but will in turn give you great satisfaction and benefits too. This is not just my presidential year, this is your year too. Finally, I thank the citizens of Sri Lanka who work tirelessly supporting our challenged economy and social fabric to maintain the pillars of our society such as free education and free health. We are all the direct or indirect result of sweat and sacrifice of common man of Sri Lanka. The current economic crisis is hitting the very heart of their life. Let's make this year about courageous people of Sri Lanka and indomitable Sri Lankan spirit. With this, I conclude my presidential address, wishing you all a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir, Dr. S.M. Arnold, for your inaugural address as President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, discussing the theme and the vision for the coming year. I am sure our audience joins me in wishing the new President and the Council all success in the coming year. We have now reached the end of the formal proceedings for this evening. There are many to be thanked and much gratitude to extend towards many people. Therefore, without further ado, let me call forward Dr. Tushani Daburera, Secretary to the College, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening. President and the Council of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, past presidents and the fellows of the college, our chief guest tonight, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, guest of honor, Dr. Alaka Singh, all the officials of the Ministry of Health, representatives from WHO, World Food Programme, UNICEF, World Bank, UNFPA, IOM, and other UN agencies, representatives from the academia and the professional colleges, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am deeply honored to deliver the vote of thanks as the Secretary of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka at this memorable event. I thank our chief guest, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, an academic and a public intellectual, who has shared important perceptions about our economy, society and future. Thank you, sir. I also extend our thanks to our guest of honor, Dr. Alaka Singh, WHO representative to Sri Lanka, for her presence and shared thoughts. Madam, we hope to form strong collaborations and partnerships with the WHO in the future, and may this be the first day of new beginnings. Past presidents, fellows, and the members of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka, you are the pillars of strength of our college. We ride on your mighty shoulders and your past contributions to our college and to public health of Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for extending your immense support to make this event a success. President and all the council members, your immense support in making this event a success is highly valued. On behalf of the college, I thank Dr. Sunil Dialvis, Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, Director General of Health Services, and all the other officials of the Ministry of Health for being with us to grace this occasion. Representatives of WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, World Food Programme, UNFPA, IOM, and all other UN agencies, and representatives from the academia and professional colleges, Thank you for your support and for being with us today. A special word of appreciation to all the postgraduate trainees and medical officers who helped us for taking the burden onto your shoulders in arranging this event. Director, Postgraduate Institute of Medicine and the staff, thank you very much for your assistance in making this event a reality. Thank you, Mr. Angelo Ravindran, our college assistant, for your continuous support. We highly value the support extended by the AV team and our elegant compeer tonight, Dr. Nimani Lanarol. And last but not least, all the invitees who joined with us physically and virtually, thank you for being with us in spite of your busy schedules. We invite all of you for the refreshment and fellowship downstairs on the 3rd floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings the end of the formal proceedings for this evening at the 28th Presidential Induction of the President of the College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka. Refreshments will be served on the 3rd floor. Thank you once again for enriching our ceremony with your presence. Please rise for the ceremonial procession to leave the hall. Thank you and have a pleasant night.